What's going on? Welcome to the 2021 edition of the Off the Schneid preview series, where I'll be going over all 32 NFL teams, breaking down their roster, schedule, giving you a record prediction, as well as helping out with some betting tips. If this is your first time on the channel, hit that subscribe button, and if you like what you hear, go ahead and smash that like button as well. Don't forget to check the description for links for the Off the Schneid social media and interact with me directly. I want to give a massive shout out to OurLads Scouting Services and OurLads.com, as all roster and depth chart graphics are straight off their site. If you've never been, go check them out immediately. I use their site for all NFL, fantasy, and betting purposes, and there's a link in the description for their site. Again, do me a huge favor and hit that like and subscribe button, but enough of that, let's get to your favorite NFL football preview. All right, we're taking a look at the Buffalo Bills. We're going to start at quarterback. We got Josh Allen out of Wyoming, who went from being probably the most hated quarterback and hated on quarterback in the NFL to the most loved in the matter of one season. And, I get it after that season. Personally, I was pretty high on him before last season. I had him in my top 10. I know a lot of people did not, so don't act like you didn't. But I think that he's absolutely a very solid top, steady top, probably 6 quarterback in the league. This isn't a dynasty fantasy football show. This episode, this is just about, football and this team. So, realistically, he's probably he's definitely a top 5 quarterback, top 6, maybe something like that. I have him comfortably in my top 10. And yeah, he can do it all. He's a big body guy, very close to Cam Newton, but with a better arm. So there you go. I don't know if people are going to hate on me for saying that, and I don't really particularly care. It's just what I see. He absolutely is built in that mold. Rushing yards, 421 and 8 touchdowns. It could certainly go up, especially with an extra game, but I certainly don't see it going down. Like that's kind of where it's at is this is kind of, I feel like this is going to be the norm for Josh Allen moving forward, as long as he has the weapons, which he absolutely does this year. And there's no reason to think that he won't, throughout his career, realistically. 37 touchdowns, 10 picks, 8 touchdowns on the ground. That's fantastic. Not that it was a real concern. Realistically, I think Jake Fromm would have been fine as the backup here, but they go ahead and bring in Mitch Trubisky just in case. Like I said, I'm not really sure why they felt the need to do that. You got to be pretty high on your guy right now. Turns out you were right. A lot of people in the league were wrong, because I know there's a lot of haters on Josh Allen. So I don't know why you go ahead and bring in Mitch Trubisky when I think Jake Fromm can absolutely get that job done if called upon. But regardless, Josh Allen is the guy. Move over to running back, Devin Singletary and Zach Moss. Somewhat interchangeable, realistically. 156 carries for Devin Singletary, 112 for Zach Moss in only 13 games, missed a couple games. 1,100 plus total yards between the two and 6 touchdowns. So realistically, you're just looking at those two guys as one player, more or less. Matt Brady comes in to be that third down back type of guy. TJ Yeldon's now gone. Change of pace type of guy. He's different and faster than the other two for sure. Very, very quick. Matt Brady, I think he's been clocked as the fastest player in the NFL for 2 seasons, whether it was last year and the year before, or 2 years ago and the year before that, something like that. I can't remember, but he's very, very fast. So definitely a different look, especially obviously out of the backfield. And he can probably catch the ball a little better than both those guys. But either way, it's not a huge concern on this team. Move over to tight end. Dawson Knox is kind of the incumbent starter. Tommy Sweeney's still there, but I think the guy that potentially takes over, realistically, Dawson Knox hasn't, maybe just hasn't taken that step yet, and maybe he gets there this year, but realistically, he just hasn't been the guy. And maybe that's, how the offense is run, how Josh Allen likes to, see the field and scan the field and whatnot. But I think Jacob Hollister, who played with Josh Allen at Wyoming. He can come in, and I really liked what he did in Seattle, especially when there was injuries to Will Disley when I think he tore his Achilles or something like that a couple years ago. And Jacob Hollister came out of nowhere and played great. And then he played well last year. It's just there was a lot of guys in the tight end room there in Seattle. So if Dawson Knox isn't the guy, I think Jacob Hollister can slide right in there and be a quality, 400 or 500 yard tight end. Absolutely. Move over to wide receivers. They have, now there's really no question he's one of, if not the best wide receiver in Stephon Diggs. He was phenomenal last year, led the league in receiving yards as far as I can recall. Again, that's off the top of my head. Cole Beasley was good in, as a slot role. There's some controversy going on with Cole Beasley right now. I'm sure you know about it if you're a football fan, and certainly know about it if you're a Buffalo Bill fan. So we'll see, we'll see about Cole Beasley if he even plays this year. I'm not sure. Regardless, a guy that I'm massively high on, and I'm really disappointed that there's a lot of other people that are very high on him as well, because I was hoping he'd be a bit of a secret and not everyone would have seen what I saw. Turns out, a lot of people did. Gabe Davis, I think, is going to be very good this year. I think that there's a very good potential. He tops 1,000 yards. I really, really like what he can do. People are going to say that he struggled when John Brown was hurt last year, or when he came back, he struggled. I can't remember the narrative that people are trying to spin. I remember seeing Gabe Davis a lot. Just seeing him make plays, be open a lot last year. So I'm a big fan. I think he takes a step. Second year guy. I think he can push. I'm not going to sit here and say he's 1,000-yard receiver, but I think he can absolutely push that and be that number 2 guy. If there's anything, if Cole Beasley doesn't play, they've got Isaiah Mckenzie, who I really, really like. He can do a lot of gadgety things. I really like Isaiah Mckenzie. He's very good, in real life football and real life situations. He's come up big for this team before, and he's still very young. So I do like Isaiah Mckenzie. And then they brought in Emmanuel Sanders, who's a fantastic leader, fantastic vet. There's been some sound bites I've heard of him, around the guys and stuff like that, and he doesn't take anything for granted. So I'm sure he's very happy to be here. He's won a Super Bowl. So I like that pickup. Absolutely. He's played on a lot of winning teams, a lot of good winning teams. So, that presence there, I think is you definitely, it's certainly not going to hurt your team. Absolutely. And he might play a prominent role if Cole Beasley is, there's some issues there. Marquez Stevenson is another guy I just want to bring up quickly. He's a guy that I liked out of the 6th round coming into this year's draft. So he's there as well. Move over to the offensive line. It's in a very, very good spot. There's obviously a ton of continuity here. Darrell Williams came back, I think, on a 2-year deal. This team was, top 10 in sacks allowed. Like I said, continuity is big. Dion Dawkins is absolutely a guy. John Feliciano is a quality, solid vet. It's been around a long time. Cody Ford, former 2nd round pick. He's absolutely, very good, can get the job done. They brought in 3rd round pick Spencer Brown, 5th round pick Tommy Doyle. So they got some depth. They got Forrest Lamp, who they brought in. Bobby Hart probably just needs to get cut. That's a good thing that they, I'm a Bengals fan, so it's a good thing that they drafted Spencer Brown. So there you go. They got a lot of depth here, competition, all that kind of stuff, continuity. This is a great offense, a very, very good offense. And Brian Daboll is probably going to be looking at a head coaching gig after this season, most likely, unless for some crazy reason he wants to stay as OC, which I highly doubt. So he's probably going to move on, but, and it's not like it's an all-in type of season for a coach, but, it's, again, continuity is a big thing with this team. Move over to the defense, Leslie Frazier's defense. I really like Leslie Frazier as a defensive coordinator. Considering all the talk about how they couldn't get after the quarterback, and that's the point of need, number one, they certainly addressed it. Number two, they were middle of the pack last year getting after the quarterback. It was just spread out. It's just a lot of guys were chipping in. They were playing very good team defense. AJ Klein, linebacker, led this team, co-led this team in sacks with 5. Mario Addison at 5. Jerry Hughes 4.5. 3.5 for Matt Milano, that sort of a thing. The defensive line packed up a few. It was just spread out. Not that they didn't need the help, especially because Jerry Hughes and Mario Addison are A, getting old, and B, coming up on their contracts. They drafted AJ Epinesa in the second round 2 years ago, Gregory Rousseau in the first round this year, and then Carlos Boogie Basham in the second round this year as well. So they absolutely addressed it. If it was a big point of need, they absolutely shored it up. AJ Epinesa should be able to take that step. I'm a big fan of Boogie Basham, actually. I really, really liked him. I wanted my Bengals to grab him, actually. I think he can come in and definitely be a rotational guy. He's a bit of a bigger body guy, certainly not a speed rusher, but I do really like him. And Gregory Rousseau, super raw, but all the intangibles are there. So as long as they can, coach him up, hopefully in short order, being a first-round pick, but they absolutely addressed what was, it was a need, but I don't think it was quite as much of a need as everybody was making it out to be. They were a good team defense. And then in the interior of the line, Ed Oliver is fantastic. Vernon Butler's very good. Harrison Phillips is there. Star Lutulele is there. They're very quality, especially after those draft picks now. And moving forward, I think there's a good possibility that Jerry Hughes and Mario Addison, this is probably going to be their last year on this team, most likely, which is going to give them extra motivation, I'm sure. Move back towards the secondary, linebacker, Matt Milano still there. Again, continuity here. Matt Milano still there. Tremaine Edmonds is a very, very good linebacker. Still super young too. I think he's only like 23 or something like that. AJ Klein, like I said, who, co-led this team, he's still there. Terrell Adams, I don't know, Markel Lee. They got a couple other pieces. Realistically, it's Matt Milano, Tremaine Edmonds, and AJ Klein. Realistically, are the 3 guys at linebacker. The rest of the guys they can sort out in preseason and play on special teams, depth guys, that sort of a thing. Secondary is not in the greatest spot with the exception of safety. I really like Micah Hyde, and I really, really like Jordan Poyer. Jordan Poyer led this team in tackles last year. He's a very, very, very good safety in my opinion. And Micah Hyde, no problems there. Micah Hyde's getting a little bit older. I'd really like to see them add a safety. It's not super duper necessary, right this second, but maybe next offseason or next draft, they're going to have to get that center fielder, I think, that free safety that can, a guy like Javon Holland was great in this draft for that exact, mold, but it is what it is. Obviously, I think they should address it next draft probably. As far as corner is concerned, Tre'Davious White is very good, former first round pick in 2017. But I just can't, sit here and get on board with the rest of it. I really can't. Luckily, again, they play very good team defense, and I think they're going to be much better on the line, which should hopefully help the secondary. If they can, pressure the quarterback, it's going to help your secondary. Same thing if your secondary is very good, coverage sacks, it's going to help them. So I thought that they should have addressed it, somewhere in third round type of thing, fourth round. I don't know. They should have addressed corner at some point. Rashad Wildgoose, sure, in the 6th round, but he's got a sweet name, but do you realistically expect him to come in and be a starter? I certainly don't. Levi Wallace, I'm just not so sure I can, rely on him. Or Dane Jackson. Teron Johnson, sure, in the slot. Yeah, okay, as a nickel. But that's definitely the weakness of this defense. What was a perceived weakness at, defensive end and rushing the quarterback, they've absolutely addressed. So maybe next year's draft, they go after a bunch of corners or they sign a guy. I'm not sure. We'll see how that shakes out. Either way, I'm not super concerned, but that's a touch of a weakness on this defense is in the secondary and trying to stop the pass. But like I said, hopefully the pass rushers can help out. So let me know what you think in your comments. There's your breakdown of the roster. Let's skip over, see what I project them to do record-wise in 2021. If you watched all of these AFC East episodes, you know that I am picking the Buffalo Bills to win this division. I think they are the best team. The low high my reflects it. The Betting odds absolutely reflect that. 1.66 to 1 on your money. You're probably going to want to parlay that. I certainly will be. But yeah, I absolutely think that they're the best team. They addressed some weaknesses. They got better as a team. There's tons of continuity. They were the best team last year. I just don't see any real way that they aren't the best team in this division and they don't win the division. I think it's, more or less a disaster if they don't win this division. So there you go. I think realistically, I think they're going to be in the running for that number one seed, the first round bye, the only first round bye. I think they'll be in the running. I'm not sure if they quite get there. The Ravens, Chiefs, there's some other very good teams in this in the AFC. So I'm not sure they quite get there, but they'll push for it, I think. So let's start week 1 at home. Fans in the stands. Pittsburgh Steelers, Buffalo Bills get that win. Week 2 on the road against the Miami Dolphins. That's a tough game. The Dolphins start against the Patriots, then the Bills, and if they lose both those games, they're going to be in a tough spot. So Miami's absolutely going to want to win that game, obviously. I just think that, with the improvements on defense for the Bills and the struggles and, question marks on the offense for the Dolphins, I give the Bills the win there. I think they can go into Miami and get that win. Week 3 against the Washington football team. That's a tight game. It is at home, low, high, my type of game, but I absolutely give the edge to the Bills, especially at home. Again, defenses are comparable. No, I think the Washington's the football team's defense is better, but they're comparable. It's just the offense for the Bills is just that much better. So we'll see. That's a tight game. That should be an interesting game. Might be a little lower scoring than you'd think. Week 4 against the Houston Texans, the Bills absolutely trounced the Houston Texans, especially at home. That's going to be a bit of a beating, I think. Then week 5, then they got 2 tough games on the road back to back. Week 5 against the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City. That's an extremely tough game. It's very good, honestly. It's a good thing to have that game that early in the season. It's a very good barometer for where you're at, where you need to get to, how you need to feel about your team. That's a great barometer that early. I don't mind that game there. I do expect the Chiefs to win. I think they're going to get the best of the Bills, obviously, in at home at Arrowhead. I think the Chiefs get that win, but it's a very good spot to have that game. I'd much rather have that game in week 6 than in week 16. Absolutely. Week 6 against the Tennessee Titans in Tennessee at Nissan Stadium. I think that the Titans get that win. I think that they're going to be able to throw the ball against the secondary. And, even though I do think that the Bills are going to be very good against the run, Derrick Henry's a whole other ball game when we're talking about the running game. He's an absolute beast. And with those additional weapons at wide receiver, I think that they're going to be able to do a lot of funner, different things with that offense, a lot of play action, stuff like that. I think it's going to get the best of the Bills. So I think the Titans get that win at home. If it was in Buffalo, bit of a different story. Week 7 bye. I'd rather a later bye week personally. If I'm the Bills, you're absolutely a playoff team in my opinion. Anything less is a disaster. So I'd rather, week 10 at least, something like that, but it is what it is. Coming out of the bye, they play Miami at home. I definitely give them that win, especially if they somehow lose to the Dolphins in week 2. I absolutely give them that win on Halloween at home for sure. Week 9 against the Jags on the road. Much better team. They're going to beat the Jags. Week 10 against the Jets on the road. Much better team. They're going to stomp the Jets. At home against the Indianapolis Colts. That's a tougher game. But again, being in Buffalo, I absolutely give them the edge. I absolutely think they win that game. Short week, Thursday nighter on the road against the Saints. I definitely give the Buffalo Bills the win there. I just think that, again, with the weakness on the Buffalo Bills is going to probably be in the passing game. There's just not very many weapons for the Saints, especially in the passing game. There's just not a ton of weapons. So I don't think that if this is any kind of shootout, they are not going to win that. Like, absolutely not even close going to win that shootout against the Bills. So I got the Bills winning that game. At home against the New England Patriots, I think they get that win, and then it's a potential that they split. I think it's going to be tough to beat the Patriots in Foxborough late in the season. So they get the win in the first game there in week 13, week 14 on the road against the Bucs. I don't mind that either. Again, if everything goes the way I've kind of been laying it out, you're playing the Bucs and the Chiefs on the road. So I'm not saying like they're throwaway games and you're expecting to lose or anything like that. But if you do, there's no like, the Bills aren't what we think they are sort of a thing. There's no narrative there. If they lose those games, they're kind of supposed to lose those games. Both those teams were in the Super Bowl last year. So, they're not like they're good games. They're good games to have in the regular season when you're going to beat the rest of the teams you play more or less, right? I don't mind that even that late in the season. Then if you want to look at it that way, you have your early season barometer against a Super Bowl team and then a late season barometer against a Super Bowl team. You're going to know what your team is and where you're at and where you need to get to and how much better you need to be to play against these teams. You know what I mean? So I think that their schedule is quite nicely built, realistically. Obviously, you'd rather not play those teams until the playoffs, but I think you would rather, when you're a team like the Bills, I think you would rather play those teams in the regular season, see where you're at, you get film on them, you get a feel for them, all that kind of stuff. I like it. So either way, I don't know if I said who wins, but I think the Bucs win that game at home. Week 15 against the Carolina Panthers, Buffalo Bills get that win. They're just too good of a team offensively. I could see that being a little bit of a shootout, and I will take Josh Allen over Sam Darnold every single day of the week, especially on Sundays. Week 16 against the New England Patriots. Tough game. That's a tough game. Boxing Day, late December in New England. They have a very, 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 very good defense. If they can control the ball, control the clock, and run the ball on the Bills, I think that they can definitely get that win. I'm actually giving that win to New England. So they take the loss there. But then it's a bit of a cakewalk to the end of the season. 2 home games, 2 teams you should absolutely trounce. They're going to beat the Atlanta Falcons at home. And then they're going to beat the Jets at home as well, unless there is some, actually realistically, and I said this on the Jets one as well, even if the Bills are sitting, Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, whoever else, I still don't mind the Bills there to get that win. I would take Mitch Trubisky and then the wide receivers they have, Sands, Stephon Diggs. You know what I mean? I would take the Bills over the Jets still personally, but we'll see. And if that's the case, it doesn't matter for the Bills anyways. So there you go. There's your breakdown though. I mean, it's going to be an interesting one towards the end. I do think that the Patriots are going to be the team to give the Bills the best run for their money in this division. I think it goes Bills, Patriots, Dolphins, Jets, and the Jets are quite a bit down there, but I think it's the Bills division to lose for sure. They absolutely have Super Bowl aspirations. So we'll see if they can get there. Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, but there is your breakdown for the 2021 Buffalo Bills.